So here we are for game number 4 against 4-color Rally. Uh, I'm gonna go on and say that I completely underestimated this deck, and this is my opening hand. Pretty sure I mulligan, yes, and we hit much better stuff. Uh, but I completely underestimated 4-color Rally. I thought we'd have a pretty decent match against it, but that was just wrong. Just wrong. uh, and especially Jace is just so sick with Rally. Uh, just, I don't know, being able to just throw, catacomb sifters or just cutthroats or whatever you want into the yard while finding, your rallies. It's just disgusting. And then being able to Coco, flashback Coco, it's really just sick. And it's a really good deck. I'm not sure what I thought going into it. I don't know why I thought I'd have a pretty good matchup, but especially just triple Jotty, I thought we would, we're just going to gain a bunch of life. They're going to hit some triggers, but whatever, So he shrinks a Jotty. Jotty already has 0 power, so, I guess you might as well, but... So we hit the renewal, gain just a bunch of life, and at this point I'm thinking, there's basically nothing he can do to stop me, but he hits a Coco, hits a pretty good Liliana, and he can sack something, go on and flip it, which is pretty cool. We go on, and I remember here that we blocked everything because we wanted to make sure we could dig. Their board is getting pretty out of control, and I just wanted to hit an Aurora, go on and reset everything, so I wanted to make sure I could be able to dig. And to do that, I needed these Jotties to die. So we went ahead and just blocked everything to force him to go on and kill, sack some stuff, save us some damage, get stuff in the graveyard so that we could dig, and play other stuff. And I'd actually hoped this Jotty would die as well to ensure that we could play what we wanted. But the Sidisi's Faithful kind of screwed that plan up. We get the Aurora and the Wealth, and just face down 2 Rattleclaws and play a Jotty. We're still thinking that we're pretty good at this point, but then he just loads up 3 Cutthroats, and this is where we really just mess up the game. I believe what happened here is he plus Liliana, so we both discarded, and I decided to, instead of keeping Wealth and Wealthing, I decided to instead Great Aurora, which was just a moronic mistake. Just completely and utterly moronic, and you'll see why. If we had Wealth, it would have been, let's see, so these were for Rattleclaw, it would have been for 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I believe a 12x Wealth, so we would have hit some pretty good stuff, at least some blockers, probably some rallies. So this was just a huge mistake. But instead, we decided to float a bunch of mana, play a Great Aurora, and he takes a little while. You don't really see it in the replay, but he takes a while to read this and think about it. And what he does is he commences to sack everything, draw a bunch of cards, get all this stuff in his graveyard. And what he's doing basically is he's just triggering me to death right now. And he's preparing that since he's drawing so many cards and he's going to get so many permanents back, that he's just going to draw a rally and have the mana for it. And luckily for him, he got the fetches and all the necessary stuff, and he has 8 cards in hand, so he got the rally and just proceeds to play it in response to my renewal. And obviously this is lethal. I just had not even considered this as something that could happen. It was so stupid to discard Wealth instead of Aurora. The Wealth, I don't even know what to say. I'm flabbergasted about this decision. We may have been able to get game 1 had we popped the Wealth instead of the Aurora, but I was just so scared basically at his board state, and just thought I had to shuffle it all back in, and had not considered that he'd just sack it all into his graveyard. Because I thought he would read it and say, hey, I need these permanents, so that I can draw as many cards as I can. I had not considered though that he had the Grim Haruspex, so he would just draw a bunch of cards anyway, and that would add to his draw count off of Aurora anyway. So, such a huge mistake. This line of play basically guaranteed we would not win. And I don't know what would have happened if we had Wealthed instead, but it certainly wouldn't have been this. Maybe we could have hit, you know, his rallies. Maybe he didn't have a rally in hand and we would have hit all of them. And then he would have had to push through, you know, 40 health with what he had on board. And maybe he could have, maybe he couldn't. And we'd have some blockers and stuff. So this was just terrible, terrible line of play. Me just not giving 4-color rally the respect it deserved, and so we earned this face beating right here. And let's go on to game 2. So game 2 on the play. Once again, I don't really quite remember what we boarded in, but I would have to imagine it was once again the Oblivion Sower plan. After being blown out by Aurora, I want to say I took all of them out. I just didn't even want Aurora anymore against this deck. It just does not seem beneficial. This is obviously an incredibly good hand, especially 4-color rally does not really have any removal. They can get an early Sidisi's Faithful, but that's not typically what they're looking to do. They kind of want to just hit Jaces, you know, get stuff into play and, you know, do their game plan. So we get the turn 2 Rattleclaw. They get their turn 2 Jace. They hit turn 2 Jace every game. It was so disgusting. But so we get our turn 3 Veggies, which is obviously very good for us. He duresses a Wealth away, but, you know, a Wealth this early doesn't really matter anyway. So, we just drop a bunch of Hedron Archives, try and get ready to ramp up. He does not want to flip his Jace yet, so he goes on and triggers it before playing the Coco. He just wants to filter through some more. And Executioners my Rattleclaw, which really sucked, especially he's got 3 more power on the board now, so... And the only thing we're left to do is we can just play a face-down Rattle and just kind of hope for the best, ramp some more, and hope that we can just top deck a Wealth. And I believe he flashed back that Coco. And so at this point, we apparently did leave some Auroras in. And so this isn't a terrible Aurora, though. He couldn't do the whole sack, you know, do whatever I want thing. So we get a Jotty, we get a Renewal, gain a bunch of life. We even are able to play the Veggies because we floated our mana. And so now we have a Wealth in hand. We've got a decent amount of land. So next turn, we're just going to pop this Wealth, I'm pretty sure. And especially he taps down. I think I was actually going to not play the Wealth, just in case he had brought in some sort of Disdainful Strokes or something. But since he tapped down, you know, we're just gonna play the Wealth. After this match, I think it was actually a mistake to play Coco. Playing the Coco puts it back in his graveyard, and that means if he gets another Jace and flips it, he can flash these things back. And I played them so that I could pull the Rattleclaws and Jotties out of my deck so I wouldn't hit those anymore. But overall, I think it was the wrong decision. It just gives him a way to get more stuff, and it does not help us, I think, statistically that much. To be able to just pull more stuff out of our deck, but I don't know. That's what we chose to do, and we hit some stuff, so, you know, at least we hit some things. We only hit one thing off that one and end up putting a Dig and an Aurora on the bottom. So, but there were no Wealths in either of those that I saw, so, yeah, you know, I'm not overly sure that was the right play. Obviously, getting these Catacomb Sifters, though, was huge. That's just great. And so we choose to go on in Renewal here, just ramp as much as we can. And then in our upkeep, we're just gonna, well, what we wanted to really do was just hope he attacked, block. We've even got one of his Cutthroats, so we're gonna hit some drain off that. And what we wanted to do was block, have some stuff die, get some drain, and then just scry our way into Villainous Wealth. But since he decides not to attack, he just instead flashbacks Coco. On my upkeep, I've sacked these Scions so we can get some Scries in. And especially 2 Scries, 2 Scions, it seemed like a pretty good chance that we would hit a Wealth or an Aurora or just whatever. And it just doesn't happen. So that really sucked. That set us back by a lot. Especially we just lost 2 mana for nothing. We hit a land, so that's not very good. We just wanted to keep all these things up for blockers and to be able to scry, so we didn't attack. Because I learned the last game, even though I'm at 51 life, that does not really mean anything. And he was able to get the Liliana emblem, which was just sick. I thought after he got that emblem, I was just dead. I could not imagine winning after the emblem, and especially he just hits rally, uh, you know, sacks a bunch of stuff, has double trigger off Cutthroat, and after he sacks all this stuff, it's just comes back at his end step, and then everything I have to sack because of like Executioner, that comes back at his end step, and then he can do it again on my turn. On my end step, it all comes back. So I just could not imagine winning at this point. However, I came to realize though that because of his horror specs and because of if I could just make enough stuff die, and if I could make this Elvish Visionary come back, if I could get a Villainous Wealth, I would be able to wealth him for lethal. Or for enough to mill him off. And there's the wealth. We just found it. We scry it to the top. And he's going to get that Elvish Visionary back, so he's going to draw another card. And if he decides to, and here's another Executioner, so we got more scries in, but we didn't need them. So I wanted to make sure not, and I repeat again, say again, not give him the Zulaport Cutthroat back. We did not want that to die, come back at the end step. So we just hit this wealth, a 15x wealth, only has 14 cards. I think he decided to try and do shenanigans and then just realized I had way too much health, and his timer also went below 5 minutes. So he knew that these matches were going very long, even though the replays are not showing that really, but they were dragging on really, really long, and he realized pretty quickly that he was not going to have lethal even with what he had on board. He had no way to rally at the end of my turn. He wasn't going to be able to draw a card, so he was just going to lose. So he decided to just go on and concede that game, try and save some time. And so we'll go on to the third game and see what happened there. So third game, he's on the play, which sucks for us, obviously. We get an okay hand. We've got the turn 2 Rattle, turn 3 Map, which isn't great because of Rattle. We really want to hit just Veggies or Hedron Archive, but we've got pretty good chances of hitting those things. So we just stick with it. It just doesn't seem like a hand you can throw away. And once again, the turn 2 Jace, which is just disgusting. He didn't even mulligan any of these games. So after this Executioner, we're pretty happy we have this map now. It's a nice backup plan to what he's got going on. And his timer is just going lower and lower and lower, and so I thought that I could likely win just off of his timer, but I mean, basically all we're getting is Jotties and stuff, so that's not really very good for us. And hitting an Executioner, we lose our source of life gain. He gets in for 3 more damage every time. At this point, I'm just like, man, I got a wealth. So we hit a rally and some land. It was kind of cool to see the rally, but he's basically got us dead on board. So I'm thinking maybe I probably should have played the face down Rattleclaw, but because I expected to get some blockers off that wealth, but it just was not good enough. We really needed this Rattleclaw to be able to block that Nantuko Husk. We just gave him a super, super easy win. And we had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if we really should have faced down the Rattleclaw instead of Wealthing. I don't know what I was thinking. I just really wanted to hit some blockers off of Wealth of his own, you know, hit some Cutthroats or something, maybe some Sidisi's Faithful to pop Nantukowas back in his hand. And so maybe it was worth the risk, but I think Rattleclaw would have been the much better play, especially because maybe I realized he had lethal on board, but I'm not sure I did. So it really just came down to, you know, I didn't give the deck the respect it deserved, and I basically threw away game one, and I honestly really basically threw away game three with such a low clock. I really think face downing the Rattleclaw would have been the correct play, especially that would have given us. Let's see. I'm thinking that I could have flipped it and dug if he tried to kill it in some way. But so it'd be 3 to play down, 2 to flip. But so I'd get 3 mana. I'd have 5 total. So let's see. The 2 blue, 2 more. Yeah, I would have had perfect amount of mana to dig. So yeah, that was just the correct play. I really just screwed that up. And basically the name of the game is we handed 4-color rally some wins. So it seems like if you play correctly and not like a complete moron, the 4-color rally matchup isn't an auto loss or anything, but if you don't give them the respect they deserve, they just win, which I think that's really what they prey on, you know, is people not to give them the respect they deserve and then they just run over you. So be sure and like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the last video.